One chapter in this book actually hit me so hard, I actually had to stop reading it and reevaluate my whole life. If you're someone who feels like you've been stuck or overwhelmed or like life has just been hitting you, then this book is probably the wake up call that you never knew that you needed. Stay tuned. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Super glad to have you here on today. Excited about this conversation and what we're about to discuss today. It's actually a book that we're going to discuss. But before we jump into that book, just go over some real quick house rules. If you're new to the channel, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell, right? If you like the video and what you're hearing, make sure you like and make sure you leave a comment. Definitely want to hear from all of our subscribers. Want to stay connected with you all. So definitely make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, and comment. All right, so let's jump right into it. So this is probably my favorite book that I've read in a long time. Over the last few years, I've definitely consumed a lot of books and content, podcasts, YouTube, just different content about transformation and basically becoming a better version of myself. And this is probably one of the best books I've read out of probably I'll at least say the last 10 books, because I've read some really good books over the last few years. But in the last 10 books, I'd probably put this one as one of the best books. And the book is actually Take Your Seat at the Table by Anthony O'Neill. I've actually read the book twice now. The book, it's already a #1 national bestseller. Just came out at the beginning of this year, and the book is excellent. The book is probably, I can tell you, it's probably going to be one of the most life-changing books that I've read. So, yeah. So we'll jump right into the book. I just want to kind of share my thoughts on the book and share some information on the book. I'm just going to go through the book really with you, a quick recap of it, and kind of give you some pointers on the book and how it can help you in your life. Definitely, I will likely leave a link in the bottom where you can go and buy the book if you want to get the book. I have no affiliations with Anthony O'Neill, so I don't make any money off of the book or anything like that. But when I read something or I consume something that I feel like has helped me so much, I don't have a problem with sharing it, even if it doesn't benefit me, because I truly believe it'll help benefit you all. So, yeah, I have no connection with Anthony O'Neill. I'll get nothing out of putting his book in my comments, but um, it's an awesome book, basically. But with that being said, name of the book is Take Your Seat at the Table, and I'm just going to jump right into it. So in chapter one, it talks about defining your table. And in defining your table, Anthony talks about tables constantly throughout the book. And basically the table is this it's this object that we sit down at all the time. We're constantly sitting at tables. We've sat at tables all of our lives, whether it be in school, at a cafeteria table, whether it be at home, at the dinner table with your parents, whether you're using your table to do homework when you're in school. We've sat at tables all of our life. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, you're at a table. Homework, you're at a table. Dessert, you're at a table. Typically, growing up in my household, and Anthony talked about it in his household too, when my parents wanted to talk to us about something, my mother, she was a little OCD with furniture, and right, the living room was pretty kept clean, and the only time we were able to go in there was when we were doing like a major family activity or when guests were coming. But we didn't go into the living room for stuff like that. If we had to have a family meeting or something, we would have it at the table. So always around tables. In the table that Anthony is talking about, he's using this metaphor of a table, but the table is basically your life. So basically taking your seat at the head of your life is what the book is all about. And he points out how the table points to our purpose, right? The table is basically the reason for why we live, right? It's the purpose of what we're doing and why we're doing it. We're all given a purpose. It's up to us to walk in that purpose and fulfill purpose. But if you're not taking control or taking charge at what you've been given or blessed with by God to fulfill, then you're not fulfilling purpose and your table is basically not being used to its full potential. I'm not going to say it's being waste, but you're just not utilizing it to its full potential and what you could do with your life. Um, the table also includes people. So in your life, there will be multiple people that will be a part of your table. There will be different individuals who you will have to have in your life, and they will have a seat at your table. So they will have influence over your life in some way, shape, or form. And it's not influence in the sense of they're dictating or controlling. However, they're influenced by giving you advice, by pointing you in the right direction, by trying to help you out so that you don't make any mistakes or that you make as less mistakes as possible. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about living a fulfilled life and making least amount of mistakes as possible. And then just understanding that those mistakes that you do make, they're not really mistakes, but they're actually items and things that are benefiting you to grow. So they're things and items where you're learning from them. So they're growth objects is what I call them versus mistakes. All right. Chapter 2, it talks about basically becoming the head of your table. What it means to be at the head of your table is the collection of resources that your creator has given you stored over. You exercise authority over your table, you take control over your life, right? So God has given all of us a certain amount of talents, right? It talks about that in the Bible, that we're all that uh not that we're all, but in the Bible there's a scripture, there's a passage where a master gives his servants all talents. To one he gives 5 talents, to another he gives 3 talents, to another he gives 1 talent. And it's up to us to steward over those talents the right way, right? It's up to us to steward over those talents and use them wisely to impact others, to grow, to win souls for Christ, to help people. It is up to us to use our resources that we have and that God has given us to steward and to impact and to help grow, right? So for me, I've gotten to this point now where I know I have these certain resources, and instead of me utilizing my resources for things that don't really make sense, I'm at that point where I'm trying to use my resources to be more of an impact or benefit to people versus just thinking about myself, just worrying about little old Tyrone and what Tyrone has going on. So I would ask you to ask yourself, are you stewarding your resources the right way? Are you stewarding your resources to the point where you're making an impact for others, right? Not just for you, yourself, and your family, but your resources should impact more if that's what God has called you to do. So don't let me tell you that you have to do more with your resources, but your resources should be utilized to impact as many as possible. In chapter 3, it talks about spiritual wellness. So with this chapter, now we get into, at this point, now we're getting into the different individuals who will have influence over your life. And in this chapter, I'm glad he actually started out with spiritual wellness, because this is an area where I'm not going to say I struggle with, but I have struggled with in the past. And I'm sure other people have been through the same thing. It's definitely tough when you've lived or you're raised a certain way, you're grown up a certain way, because your environment is what you're used to, right? So if you're raised in such a certain environment, then that's what you're going to be used to as you become an adolescent, as you become grown, as you become older, and now you have your own family. We tend to do what we're used to, right? We tend to follow those same habits in which we were raised. So in this chapter, it talks about having spiritual influences. And with spiritual influences, we all have to understand that we need someone from a spiritual sense to help give us guidance on decisions that we make, right? We don't want to make the wrong decisions. I don't know anybody that wants to make the wrong decisions, but sometimes we as humans, we as people, we make the wrong decision. We make bad decisions and bad choices. But when you have a spiritual influence or a spiritual guide, that individual typically knows when you're not on the right path, I guess I'll say. So having a spiritual influence in your life is definitely a major need. So chapter 3 talks about having a spiritual influence, and you may have more than one spiritual influence. You may have 2 or 3 spiritual influences. The point is, it's good to just have a spiritual influence in your life. All right. In chapter 4, it talks about mental wellness. I enjoyed that chapter. Chapter 4, mental wellness. I guess the reason why I enjoyed it is because most men struggle with mental wellness. Most men go through, I'm not even going to say most men, all people, we struggle with our mental health because we're so used to thinking we're okay, we can figure it out, we'll work it out on our own. I know I think about, like, you constantly hear phrases like figure it out and all of this. So you're just in this mindset of trying to figure out even the voices in your head and the thoughts and the heartache and the pain that you go through. And it's hard to figure out and put a lot of things in perspective if you're used to a certain environment or used to a certain way of doing things. So having a therapist, somebody who can help you navigate through that, is definitely a big thing, right? I will talk about, or I'll say this, in the Black community, at least, in the Black community, it's almost like I'm not going to say the Black community, but Black churches, it's almost like it's frowned upon to have a therapist or somebody who you can speak to about your problems, because you're forced to leave it on the altar. Go talk to God about it. God's going to deliver you from it. God's going to heal you from it. I truly believe that God can deliver people from certain things. I fully believe that. However, certain things require additional help, and that additional help could be a therapist. And I know that's been a struggle in the Black community and Black churches. I'm not sure about other communities or other churches, but I know it has been a struggle in Black communities and Black churches. But just people in general, they struggle with mental health, and it's hard to really control your life and have authority over your life when your mind isn't right, when you're going through depression or some type of issue that's holding you back or stopping you from achieving greatness, right? Relationships, breakups, divorces, those are situations where you need somebody to talk to. Honestly, you need somebody couch to go lay on and talk about that, because if you don't, you're going to likely bring that baggage into your next relationship. And if you bring that into your next relationship, that relationship's like it's going to go bad. And then you're going to be stuck in this state saying, why me? Like, what's wrong with me? There's really nothing wrong with you. You're just carrying baggage and past hurts into all of these relationships, and you're not getting real help. So part of taking ownership of your life is having mental wellness, and that means talking to somebody, going and seeing someone. So my advice, definitely make sure you talk to someone, make sure you go see someone. That's actually the chapter that really hit me hard. There's more chapters that hit me hard, but that chapter actually had me stop and really reevaluate, like, I've been trying to fix all my problems on my own, and I can't, right? I talked about it in another video, a previous video, how I dealt with anxiety attacks. I never believed in them until I had one, and then I just tried to move on from it, and it doesn't work that way. So my advice, definitely take that advice. Mental wellness, big part of the book. Something that we all need is our mental wellness to be right. Next chapter was physical wellness. So physical wellness, you definitely need someone in your life who can help you focus on your physical wellness, right? What does the saying say? Health is wealth. If you're not healthy, how are you planning to be wealthy? It's a shame where you're trying to get, because when you're trying to become wealthy, you're going to deal with a lot of stress. And something I have found that has helped me combat my stress is being in the gym, right? Being able to let out the tension, the pressure, the frustrations. So having a gym coach or somebody in your ear who can make sure that they point you in the right direction of, hey, you need to get in the gym. Hey, you need to focus more on your health. You need to watch what you're eating. You need that type of accountability partner in your life and at your table that can point you in that right direction. So the next chapter dealt with health, and I understand and I really see how having health or having someone who's health conscious in your life definitely can help you. As men struggle to go get physicals every year, right? After you become a certain age, you have to get a physical yearly to focus on your health. I'm not going to tell you when the last time I went and got a physical, but I will tell you that recently I just set up an appointment to go have a physical. But prior to this, it's been a long time. I guarantee a lot of us, a lot of Americans, we don't focus on our health the way that we should do. Most Americans are by standard obese. And I'm not saying that the standard of what they talk about is correct, but they say it's obese. We got to live healthy lives. If you want to be around for your children, if you want to be around for your family, your wife, your husband, if you want to be around for your grandchildren, you got to live a more healthy life, right? There's that saying that you would die for your kids, you would die for your family. Would you live for them? Let me say that again. You would die for your family, but would you choose to live for your family? Would you choose to live a healthier life so that you can live and be there for your family? Don't just focus on dying for your family. Focus on living for your family. So definitely understand that chapter 6 was a good chapter. Just understanding that health is wealth, and living a healthy life is definitely important. That was chapter 5, I'm sorry. But chapter 6 was a healthy career. So your work is not your life. So many people, and even me, I've said this in the past, but so many people, they contribute their work for their life. Like, that's my life, that's my livelihood, my work is my livelihood. That's a problem. Like, when you contribute your work as your livelihood, and I understand that you need your work and you need your job to pay your bills and whatever, but when you become so dependent and it's like you're so consumed with work to where it's dictating your life, that is a problem. You have now allowed your job to be your foundation of your life. And what that means is work consumes you. Work takes most of your energy. So you not only do you, because on this channel, we're big on starting your own business and having a side hustle, but you can't even do that or spend time with your family. Like, you have no balance. It is all the place you work for. And then the problem with that is once you lose your job, you get fired or something happens, you feel like life has ended. In reality, life hasn't ended. Life goes on, life will go on, life will move forward. But individuals who